Oh, okay, yeah, it's 11:57. It's 11:57 on a Thursday night.
Yeah, I
I
got work
just
So we're
want to
tomorrow.
gonna be a little
get
bit delirious.
I want to get this done and over with so I can edit it.
First news up, we okay,
I
okay, okay.
I'm just tired.
Max, you're working with
I'm
children. You
I'm
were working with
I'm the
children.
least delirious person here because over there it's 11, here it's 9, and I just want to get this
All right.
Oh
done.
yeah, it's 9 for you. You can't be complaining. Anyways,
I'm not.
uh,
This is a production of the Apex Bros podcast, sponsored by Victory Fuel. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Apex Bros podcast. Today, I'm your host, Maximiliana, with Leander and Rob with me today. Currently missing Cody and Nate. Cody, I don't know where he's been. He's been AWOL ever since episode 3, but Nate, been off for a week, so give him the break for a while. So, all right, so the prediction results from this past weekend, Truck Series. Heim won this weekend, so Leander, myself, and Rob. Yeah, it's golf claps. Golf claps. Yep. We all, pretty much all three of us in this episode right now won. Ekis third, Cody picked that, and Nate. So they kind of lost out this weekend, but that's just trucks. Yeah. Let's do the womp 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 for Nate and Cody because they're not here to defend themselves. So womp womp. NASCAR Xfinity. I don't know why I said NASCAR Xfinity because it's on the notes. Byron third. Rob got that. The highest finish. Next is Cody and Nate with Hill, who finished 7th. And then Chandler Smith 15th with Leanders. And then I got dead last. I finished 22nd. I didn't even pay attention. I didn't even pay attention to where Jesse Love finished this weekend, so I was more or less concerned who's gonna win. But
he did run good though. He
He
good.
did until he didn't.
Yeah.
But moving over to Cup, Hamlin finished 2nd. Rob and I won that one since he was our pick. Golf claps all around. And then Nate finished 2nd finished 2nd in the brackets for this Cup. He finished 4th with Byron. And then on track, Larson 13th with Cody. And Leander shockingly finished 27th with Gibbs. Gibbs looked like he was going to be the one to. Leander looks like he was going to be the one to potentially pull off the upset.
I got Cody.
Over Hamlin.
I got Cody.
You did get Cody. You just be happy that Cody didn't pick Gibbs. All right.
Yeah, otherwise we'd finish like 38th. Yeah, that's fair.
And then moving over to IndyCar, we got the doubleheader at Iowa. I picked Dixon for Newgarden Saturday, Dixon on Sunday. Dixon finished 4th on Sunday, and Newgarden finished 3rd. You would think that would be enough to win the weekend overall, but no. Cody and Nate hold on. What does this even say? Cody and Nate both days? I'm confused. What are these notes even saying?
Cody and Nate both picked Newgarden for both.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they kind of choked on that with that pick. I don't know why I said that. Okay. And then Leander and Rob technically won IndyCar because they picked Pato for both days. So Pato got the highest finish out of the weekend. Second being on Saturday and 6th on Sunday. So golf claps all around for Leander and Rob. They got the goated picks for this past weekend, and I'm currently praying for their downfall so I can catch up in the non-existent points between all of us.
We need to make a bracket.
We actually should. That'd be more interesting so we can actually keep track and see who's doing good and who's doing bad.
Because I remember old Junebug and Mike did a bracket.
Well, not only that, but also Hamlin's doing his in-season thing. And then next year,
yeah.
Amazon Prime's doing it, or whatever it is. TNT, I don't know. But that's all for the past weekend news. We're going to be moving over to IndyCar. We're going to recap Iowa and then do a Toronto preview and talk about some more interesting news coming up. So, starting off with the IndyCar news, we're going to be recapping Iowa this past weekend, where Scott McLaughlin won Saturday from the pole. And then Will Power pulled off a crazy strategy on Sunday to win the race, where I believe he stayed out a lap after Palou had pitted and basically just did an overcut with the clean air and just got the lead. And Palou just wasn't able to pass, and that was pretty big talking point this weekend at Iowa. It's that track, just the lack of passing on the new pavement, because even though they did highline practice this Friday or Saturday, I forget which day they did it. They did highline practice to try and wear it in, and even that didn't help the racing at that track with the new pavement. It was all very predominant bottom racing, and the only ways it seemed like these guys were able to pass was just on restarts, and that's what we also saw in that's eerily similar in Pocono in the Cup Series, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Iowa overall was not as good as everyone probably hoped for. I mean, I definitely know that the hybrid system didn't do as much to promote the racing as much as I thought it would. Um, we all knew going in it was going to be really tough to see if the racing was going to be better with the hybrid system, considering it's like literally a second race with it. So it was going to be definitely a learning curve for IndyCar as a whole to really understand how to make the hybrid system more useful at a track like this in this kind of circumstance. So going forward, they're probably going to be working on that if they haven't already. Um, but last lap crash, second race at Iowa on Sunday was pretty spectacular and pretty scary too. Um, Out of turn two, Rossi runs out of fuel, stays on the racing line. Stingray Rob closed really quick on Rossi and had really nowhere to go, and ramps off of Rossi's rear end, going airborne about like, I don't know, 10 feet in the air, something crazy like that. Lands,
109 Gs.
yeah,
109 Gs was the
upon
impact.
impact, yeah. Once he landed pretty much upside down, it was 109 Gs, and that is more more forces of an impact than we saw Verstappen's hit at
Double.
Silverstone. Yeah, last year, double impact pretty much. And Stingray Rob even said that he even blacked out after the crash for a moment because just the sheer velocity and impact was just so much it he blacked out. But he got treated and seen at the local hospital, and he's been cleared to race at Toronto this weekend, which is always good news, especially for a crash after that. And speaking of Toronto, I'm doing a Toronto preview right now. So Toronto, we only ran one race there, and it was last year, the inaugural race on the street course at least. And Christian Lundgaard was a guy who pulled it off. I think it was pit strategy last year. I have very hazy memory of it last year, but all I know is Lundgaard won, and he wound up shaving the stash off. If he said if he won a race, he'd shave off the stash, and he did, and it was a pretty memorable victory celebration. But guys, what do we think we're going to be seeing for Toronto this weekend? Leander, let's start with you.
I think we're gonna see something very similar. I'm hoping there's no turn one pile up like we had last year with the huge skill issues into turn one, or I think it's turn one, just that right hander 90 degrees.
Yeah, yeah, that turn one was
Um,
hectic.
yeah, I'm hoping there's none of that this year, but you never know. But I think we'll see something similar. Something similar in terms of strategy play and cautions, because I think obviously street course you will get cautions. I'd be very surprised if we don't get any cautions, or we don't get more than two. But I assume that the regular culprits are going to show up for the win. You got Scotty Mack, Hello, Pato is pretty good at street courses. The Andretti boys always great at street courses also. So you got a lot of kids up there that can think up the show for the veterans. I know Dixon and Power will always be up there as usual, but I don't know. I think going with the young guys this week will be something that'll pay off with good dividends in the future. But yeah, I expect a lot of that stuff. I think a
So
lot of strategy will be played.
my follow-up question to this is, what races have we ran so far this season that can give us an idea of what to expect at Toronto? I know Toronto is a very different street course than what we've ran so far this season, but the only other street course that I know we ran was um, Long Beach and St. Pete. So compared to those two other street courses tracks, what is the racing to be expected at Toronto this weekend with just a close corners and really hard passing zones and not a lot of runoff areas.
Yeah, I would place it behind Long Beach, of course, and behind St. Pete, maybe closer to St. Pete than Long Beach. And then I would say it is above Detroit in terms of passing zones and space on the track in general. I do think you're gonna get, like I said, the dudes that you'd expect to do good at street courses. Um, I don't know if New Garden will do the best here. He was okay last year, had the strategy call, it didn't work out, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think it'll be Honda supremacy once again. I know the Chevys struggled last year for speed around the Toronto track, but yeah, I think it'll be definitely difficult to pass like it was last year, but with tire strategy, it might help alleviate that concern.
Do you think if we have a good Toronto race in terms of just good passing, good racing all around, do you think this Toronto street race is going to hang around longer than what the Nashville street race did?
Oh, for sure. Nashville was one of those races where it wasn't wide enough. Like we talk about Detroit being super constrictive and very narrow, but Nashville was like half of what Detroit had. And you couldn't really do anything except for on the straights. And if you made a move and you did go straight into the tire barriers, that was like your only shot. Um, so I think if we have a good race, it'll definitely stay for the future. We need a race up there in Canada, Maple Syrup Land. We definitely need a race up there. The fans up there deserve it. I hope they get a NASCAR race soon. They got F1, they got pennies. So I'm hoping it's a good race for them. I'm hoping it can stay for the future. If not, we always got Mosport. We always got Canadian Tire, so that's always there. But I do think it'll be an okay race. I think it might be a little bit better this year than last year because of that hybrid system. Because as we noticed, hybrid is really good on road courses, but kind of kind of makes that oval side a little bit redundant. With how you drive the car, you can just press the button and get some juice. But yeah, I think it'll be an okay race. I mean, we got what 6 races left in the season. It's crunch time, so you're gonna see a lot of dudes fighting it out.
Thinking of crunching, this past weekend we saw Alex Palou make a very rare mistake at Iowa and pretty much just wreck on this front stretch. What do we think is happening with Palou at this moment? I mean, he followed up the second race with a second place finish, of course. I mean, we know he has speed and the strategy and everything, but is that maybe a sign of like a miscalculation in um, just his throttle input, or what do we think this? What kind of weakness do you think this shows to the competition in IndyCar moving forward? Rob, let's start with you.
I just think that it just shows that even if you're the points leader, that you're not completely perfect. That even you're prone to making a mistake every now and again. Did it give some life maybe into the people behind him in the points battle? Possibly, but I mean, if you're able to rebound that quickly with a second place finish the next race, like
That's insane.
I, I think, I think that glimmer of hope was dashed within 24 hours. I don't really see a whole lot right now that could take away his momentum. Even with the accident on Saturday where he finished outside the top 20. I mean, yeah, he lost a little bit of points, but I mean, it was made up the next night. So I mean, I still think he's the heads-on favorite to win the title, and as long as he can keep rattling off podium finishes or top 5 finishes, I don't see anybody who can really dethrone him out of first in the point standings.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we still have 2 road courses. It could have been 3, but we got 2 road courses left, and we know Pelot is basically him on road courses. I mean, they call him what, the precision guy, the surgeon.
Yeah, the surgeon or
He
something like
just
that.
Yeah, he he's so precise when he drives on road courses. It's insane. And if he's ovals is not what he grew up on. It's not his specialty. He's not won an oval race, but the fact that he flat out wrecked himself out of a P5 finish, came back the next day and said, "Oh, he's cheeky P2. He could have won if strategy played out differently or if the track raced different." But it, d- I mean, yeah, he has a little bit of weakness on oval, but I mean, he just finished P2 out and created it out of what was going to be a terrible weekend where Pato or Power and even McLaughlin at one point when he was leading that second race as well in order to sweep the weekend, they would have been within 30. But now it's completely different. Now Polo is um like
I think
35
he's
points ahead of
35.
Power.
Yeah, it's close to like getting into the 20s now.
Yeah, and Power is good on ovals, but he's not like a Pato or a Dixon or even a McLaughlin. He's
But
Scotty's turned into a great
though,
oval racer.
you gotta think though, besides, Toronto and Portland, the rest of the races are gonna be on ovals.
Yeah,
We
but
got two
I'm
races at the Milwaukee Mile. We've got Nashville, and then we have Gateway.
yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to use this hybrid technology and how it's going to work better on ovals versus what we saw in Iowa. Because it seems like so far, from what I can gather, the hybrid system works better on road courses and street courses than it does ovals.
Yeah, and the main question is, does it work on a bigger oval like Gateway, like Nashville? Like we could really tell like how good it works at those two tracks. And I'm excited to see what it can do. Milwaukee's a shorter track, so it's not, not the same, but we'll see how it works there. But I think Gateway is that first true test. I think Iowa was kind of a doozy. After the half repaved by NASCAR kind of ruined the IndyCar. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think Pelot, as long as he has good finishes, I mean, he can finish mediocre on the oval races and he can still win. And mediocre for him is like P5, P8 at ovals. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think if he wins Toronto at Portland, I think it's gonna be hard to get him out. But hey, you never know. He could get in a wreck. He could make a strategy mistake. Every driver is prone to that, so it's gonna be tough asking for him. It's definitely not looking like 2020 2023 last year's championship fight. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. What was also very interesting, as we saw on social media, crazy. We talked about it last week. Haley Deegan out of AM Racing, out of a NASCAR ride. As Kevin Harvick said on his podcast, you might not get a second chance. Haley Deegan, of course, wanting to race, did some dirt races over the past week, and she was caught following and liking Andretti Glow and their social media accounts. So, yeah, tell me a little bit more about that, Mac. What's in store for that future?
I mean, so Haley Deegan, yeah, she was, well, I don't know why I said he. She was actually spotted with I think it might have been old news or old footage, but she was just climbing out of Andretti in the NXT car, I guess during like a close practice session. I don't know what it was, but like I said, it could have been just like old footage from like years ago, but um yeah, it looks like Haley Deegan is probably eyeing a start for Andretti Global and Indiana NXT if that video that we all saw on Twitter proves to be true. It wouldn't surprise me considering what's happened in the past couple of weeks with AM racing and everything over there. Currently, she's just sticking to dirt racing. I assume to try and bide her time and that way she doesn't get doesn't lose that competitive touch, if that makes
That
sense.
racer's edge.
Yeah, the racer's edge. Yeah, I mean, everyone does it. Like literally, Larson does it every night before the Cup weekend. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that
Yeah.
Haley's doing this too. But um, I'm definitely on the fence about this decision because it seems that Haley has been always been good in dirt trucks, like stadium trucks, but like, I don't know how to explain it, but Baja trucks is my best explanation. She's really good in those things. It's gonna be tough to really tell right now if she's gonna be competitive in any NXT on road courses. Ovals, I think that she's gonna be one of those drivers that has probably the breakout performances just because of her oval experience in trucks and Xfinity, and how she kind of understands dirty air with trucks, especially at the mile and a halfs. But uh, I don't know, man. I don't
It's
really
gonna
have
be
much to
tough.
say. Yeah, it's really tough to say right now
Yeah,
to see if this even gonna come to fruition. It could just be, they're just
could just
mutual.
be blowing smoke.
It could just
It could
be
just be
a
blowing
mutual
smoke.
alliance right now, or something like that, and nothing really comes of it, or something like that. But um, yeah, it's just gonna have to be played week to week to see what happens. With how scarce IndyCar news is every now and again, but it's gonna be interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah, for sure. And another developing news source. We just got to talk about Arrow McLaren every week. Might as well call it the IndyCar Arrow McLaren Update podcast. Um, yeah, we'll be updating you because Tony Kanon was replying and quote tweeting on Twitter. Again, responding to a fan who was irate at the firing of Teddy Pork Chops and or Teo Porcher. And all that jazz that took place with Siegel and Porcher
Yeah,
and
so
McLaren as on
about
board.
that, can you fill us in on what that whole Twitter thing was? I saw it earlier this week, and I was just completely out of the loop. I knew it had something to do with Porsche, but
Yeah, so there was an article posted because Porcher did an interview with I think it was Auto Ebdo, which is a different publication, of course, not based in the US, I don't think. They reported that Porcher was absolutely irate and, very angry at what happened and how the situation was handled. But it turned out that the article was pretty much BS. They twisted his words, exaggerated a few things, basically fake news. And yeah, this is straight from Porcher's Twitter statement. He read the article published and he's disappointed in how grossly inaccurate his words and comments were portrayed. While he was surprised by McLaren's decision to take him out the car, they ended on amicable terms. And he said, yeah, it's disappointing, but they've held up and respected all the areas of the contract. Um, they've been fully supportive. Back to IndyCar, the racing. There's no question on McLaren's stability and its partnerships and funding. And so the fact that Otto Hebdo included that in the interview is false. And yeah, there's no hard feelings. And then Tony Kanaan, of course, quote tweeted, and this is what we're going to talk about next because it links into the next subject, as all our IndyCar news apparently does every week.
just
He replies,
intertwines.
yeah, pretty much. Teddy, I would. This is quoted from TK himself on his Twitter account. Quote, Teddy, I would repeat out loud what we spoke on the phone today, but we will keep between us and put the plan in action soon. Flex emoji, thumbs up emoji, end quote. Of course, Pourchaire, a former F2 driver. I think he won the championship, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he's
he
F2
won
champion for
he won the
Prima.
champion. Yep. He's only 20, so but yeah, he it's gonna be interesting because there's a new team coming next year and all that jazz. I know Pourchaire didn't really race for this team. He was mainly with ART and all that, but he battled, of course, American F1 driver Logan Sargent in F3 and F2. So yeah, yeah, Max, I'll let you lead it into the next segment, which is directly related to this.
Yeah, Prima news, shocking. It's almost as if we're talking about it every week somehow. But Prima racing news coming out. Just talking about how they're significantly and just rapidly growing their um, input and just resources overall into IndyCar. Um, and for 2025, I think I remember seeing somewhere that they're trying to get five cars in total for 2025. So that is going to be a ton of talent and just overall competitiveness into the IndyCar field next season. Um, do we think that they could be an instant title contenders, or based on what the lineup could be, do we think they could be like mid pack around Ray Hall? I don't want to say Ray Hall Lanigan Racing because they're lower than mid pack, but do we think they could be like um Romain Grosjean's team? Yeah,
Meyer
Meyer
Shank,
Shank,
and
yeah.
Juncos.
Yeah, Juncos. Yeah, do we think they could be like them, where they get a couple drivers in the top 10 here and there? Not every week, but pretty consistent. Do we think that they're going to be like that, or do you think with how much they're putting into IndyCar, with saying that they're going to be coming out with five seats, five cars next season? What do we think? Do we put these guys on the track with the rest of the field?
Yeah, we got two chassis per driver and then one extra speedway car in case one of them wrecks it. But man, it's Prema. I mean, look at their pedigree in
So that's
all
the
forms of
thing.
motorsport that they perform in.
So
They've pretty much came in and every
those that
been a
don't
threat.
those that don't really watch F1 and just pay attention to IndyCar, what is Prema's stature in F1 or in Formula One series, the latter series?
So essentially, almost half of the grid in F1 went through Prema Racing's development program. They have a great relationship with Ferrari and all the teams. They're based in Italy. Team principals are Angelo and Rene Rosson. I mean, they race in F2, F3, Formula Regional, Euros, F1 Academy, Italian F4, Formula 4 UAE. They also do World Endurance Championship. They've done IMSA before, and now they're going to IndyCar. And they've pretty much won wherever they go. I mean, like it's crazy how quick they've risen up the ranks. I mean, F3 was their first real step in racing, and they helped Jacques Villeneuve, one of their first alumnus, Villeneuve, of course, F1 champion. And yeah, they have Ryan Briscoe, former IndyCar driver, Prema, so he might be an advisor for them. Kobayashi, Juncadella, Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll, Ocon. They have even Miguel Molina, Max Molina's brother.
Hey, yeah,
Not
hey.
really, but
Not really. I
you know,
wish. If I
yeah,
had a brother that actually raced in endurance, I would 100% be at the racetrack every weekend. I wouldn't even be here.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Gasly, Leclerc, and Giovinazzi all came from Prema, and of course, linked with Prema. Logan Sargent still linked if he loses that Williams ride. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think they will be competitive. I think they will be better than Juncos because I think they're gonna have a little bit of a partnership with McLaren. Not a complete partnership like Juncos and McLaren, where it's gonna be like a respectable partnership, kind of like Trackhouse and Colleague in the NASCAR scene.
I was literally just going to try and draw that similarity in NASCAR, because I'm gonna ask Rob this question as well. Um, when you think about the situation, the best example I could give is Tricon Garage going to Cup with like this, with how competitive they are on the trucks, and in a perfect world they'd be this competitive in Cup. How do we think that this is going to be for Prema?
I mean, you take a look at the pedigree that they've had, and like you've said, F3, F2, F1. It's a proven background with several winners, a couple championships along the way. And if they're investing this much into IndyCar, especially at the top level, I mean, we don't even know if they're going to have rides for NXT, which is also a possibility. They could take an interest in developing younger drivers in NXT and bringing them up to IndyCar. But if we're focusing just on the main IndyCar series, with how much that they are purchasing, how much resources that they're gathering up, I think it's safe to say that they're bulking up to run top 5, top 10 every week. There's no way that you put this much money into this many chassis and this much equipment just to settle for top 15s to run mid pack. You're putting in this amount of money to go in there and to try to go for podiums, try to go for wins. Um, are Teddy and Sargent, who we can presume are the favorites to be their drivers, are they necessarily going to be running top 3, top 5 right out the gate? Maybe, maybe not. More than likely the latter. But you got to think if their cars are fast and they're into top-notch equipment right away, we could see that growth from those drivers by mid to late season, and we could start seeing them run closer to the front. I think them having top-tier equipment or close to top-tier equipment is going to help with driver development with Logan Sargent, with Teddy a long way, especially if you're getting Tony Kanaan in as an advisor, you're getting Ryan Briscoe in as an advisor, proven guys in IndyCar with good backgrounds. And I definitely think that it makes Prima a wild card. I think they are the wild card. They are the dark horse for contending for a championship next year or the year after.
I agree because Porsche has been lights out even since the get-go in a McLaren car. If he has that Prema team who's 100% behind him, I think that's going to be scary for the rest of the paddock for sure.
And going back to like the Twitter thing, maybe you can maybe consider this maybe a little bit on the conspiracy theory side, but what if Theo did say those things and maybe him or the publisher of that article is facing some possible litigation and his words weren't twisted? What if he was truly saying that and he had to back off because of possible legal action?
I wouldn't be surprised because Aaron McLaren is known for legal action against former drivers.
I mean, God, look at their lineup from this year. Look at all the drivers they've gone through. I mean,
yeah, they ran through him.
like,
I mean,
it's
if you're going
crazy.
through this many drivers, then what's the future of your team going to be in 2 or 3 years?
I mean,
You're going to hire and fire all of them.
I was gonna say I can see them scaling down like Andretti did this year, just scaling down to 2 teams mainly. Like, I can just see it being Pato Award and Lundgaard next season. I mean, I don't think that'd be too bad because they can just have more resources focused on 2 cars.
Yeah, but I think they're going to stay 3 because they're getting that high V
Yeah.
sponsorship, so they'll
They're going to have
jump
that
on it.
funding.
Yep.
Yeah, but
I think if we go to Prima, I think by year 3 or year 4 of the team's existence, we'll see them competing for a championship.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
absolutely. But with that said, we're gonna be moving on to the NASCAR section.
Not my dick.
Max is just recording this.
I am.
Hold on, guys. Let me pull up the notes from the Google Dick.
What the hell, dude?
Already, real quick, because Max completely skipped over my section. We got WEC. We had WEC happen. We had WEC happen this past weekend. Your usual culprits at the front. Ferrari hit with a weight penalty for BOP to make the cars less overpowered. Toyota back on top. You had the number 8 car win. Porsche Penske rebounded to 6th after blowing a tire, and the 5 Porsche Penske car rounded out with 3rd. And then our old boy Kamui was P4 in the 7 car, and then it was Ferrari, and then the rest. Lamborghini had a very disappointing day, as well as Team Yota, at least half of Team Yota. We had Mante, Pure Racing, Sturm, Malkin, and Bachler winning in the 92 Porsche. You love to see it. Yeah, good day for Sao Paulo. Glad to see WEC and endurance racing back in South America and having fun with the 6 hours of Sao Paulo. Now on to NASCAR. Legit.
Well, speaking of Penske, as Leander mentioned with WEC, Ryan Blaney wins at Pocono. His second win of the 2024 season. Is it time to start talking about him winning back-to-back titles, or is he still just a guy who seems to be sneaking his way along?
I'll say it once and I'll say it for the rest of my life. As long as the last two races are Martinsville and Phoenix, Ryan Blaney has a shot to be a champion. That's all I'm gonna say. Those are the two best tracks, and he always finds a way to do good about them. So
I'll
as long as he
sadly,
got those two tracks,
uh,
he's a lock.
I'll sadly have to agree with that. That's undeniable. I mean, what he was championship 4 last year. Well, he won the championship last year. Where did he finish? 22. Did he advance?
22.
Did he even advance? I don't
I
think so.
I
No, he
don't
wasn't in
know.
the
Because he was
Final
like he
Four
was
last year.
He wasn't in the final four for sure.
because he
It
was
was Logano.
22. He was last to he was last to get in on points for Blaney, but
Oh yeah, Blaney was out in the round of 8.
Yeah.
Due to issues.
I
So
think I don't know. I think it's still too early to really talk about him winning back-to-back titles just because the unpredictability of the playoffs. Because look at the first round. We got Atlanta Superspeedway, Watkins Glen Road Course, and what is it to round out? I forget what that last race
come on,
is.
Max, you gotta know the schedule, bro. We got
I have
podcast, bro.
I don't pay attention to the playoffs because we're not in there yet. I only pay attention to the races once we get into the playoffs. But
Okay, so it's Bristol is the cutoff
Bristol,
rate.
that's gonna be tough for Blaney because I mean I see Blaney doing good at Atlanta, but I don't think I mean he was in that 3 wide photo finish at Atlanta earlier this year, so I mean he's got a good
I mean, he
car.
could just win that race,
He
and then
could,
he'll do good at Dayton next
but
round.
the thing is just how unpredictable plate racing is in the playoffs in general. I mean, yeah, I mean you hear people saying it's kind of just like it's just kind of stuck in whatever lane you get. It's kind of hard to make moves because what we saw at Talladega, I mean, Talladega's a lot wider, but what we saw at Talladega was just a difficulty to pass and step out and create a third lane. And we kind of saw that at Atlanta. Kyle Busch was the only reason that 3 wide finish even happened
Yeah.
because he juked out Blaney and went to the middle and just the three of them just side drafting each other, slowing each other down, just provided that photo finish. But aside from Atlanta, I think Blaney's going to struggle at Watkins Glen, and then depending on um, how did Blaney do in the spring race? I forget. He didn't do
Well, remember
good.
the spring race was the spring race.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's kind of outlier, but I think that first round is going to be make or break for Ryan Blaney, regardless of how many points he has going in. I feel like in order to start talking about championship back to back winning driver, you'd have to get a third win this season because if you look at it right now, the top 4 in points right now, the main guys we're all looking at, all have 3 wins, and I feel like to be in that same conversation, you got to have 3 wins in the season. So he's got to get at least another win before the playoffs start, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to answer
Yeah,
your
sure.
question, he was 16th in the spring race.
Okay, yeah, well, like
So-
Leander said, that's different circumstances, different tire. I don't know if they're gonna bring
Yeah.
that same tire.
Well, I mean, we could
So-
check. We could check. We could check the 2023 race, the night race.
I don't think he did too good in 2023.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. He finished. Yeah, he finished 22nd. So
So Bristol's not really the strong. He doesn't have the strongest tracks in the first round.
Yeah, if
Except
he
for
But then
Atlanta.
again, those 2 wins, and if he can stay consistent, he should have enough points to advance. If he can just get a top 5 at Atlanta and finish top 15 at the other 2 tracks, I think he
He'll
should be fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of fine, Alex Bowman with another
More
top
than fine.
5
More than
Yeah.
fine for this dude.
podium finish.
we're talking about looks or
He,
performance,
Both.
I know someone who would say that both.
But yeah, Bowman with the first and the third the last 2 weeks, carrying all the momentum for Hendrick. It seems. Byron finally getting another top five as well. Chase Elliott, obviously the points leader, but Larson struggled the past couple of weeks. But I think it's time to put the rumors to bed. I don't think Bowman's going anywhere anytime soon. I think we'll see him sign a multi-year extension sometime this season or next.
Yeah, he's gonna
Um,
get that Ally 2029 contract or 2028, whenever that contract is up. He's gonna sign on until that Ally sponsorship end date. But man, momentum, it's a great thing to have, and Bowman is one of those momentum drivers for sure.
Talking about momentum, I mean Corey Haim wins again in Truck Series. I'm convinced that this is just gonna be a championship settle between he and Eckes at this point. I can definitely see him getting to the final four with the way he and Eckes are just able to be consistent and just dominate these races. It's crazy that it's just mainly two truck drivers that are winning most of the races. It's kind of making the rest of the field look like fools. Just how dominant these guys are. What do you get? What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, oh, Rob, you go ahead.
Corey Haim.
I was looking at a different Discord server and
He
accidentally
got
Oh
clicked
my
he,
god!
he
join.
didn't want to hear my opinion on it. And he
I
fucking left.
yeah, that was a big
All right,
F you
moving
to you,
moving on to my
Rob.
opinion
Yeah,
now.
screw you, Rob. Get out of here. Go ahead.
Oh.
But no. Corey Haim, I think this is what his fifth one of the year in the Truck Series.
Yeah, fifth.
So I mean, unless something crazy happens in the playoffs to him before they get to the championship four, I definitely think he's got it in the bag. Eckes is probably his only other contender, but you also got to think about,
Nick
you
Sanchez.
know, I mean, Roger
Not
Caruso is
really,
always
but
an underdog. Roger Caruso always an underdog, and he's been running well
yeah,
this season. He's got the win. He could sneak his way into the championship four, and then Ty Majeski could sneak his way back into the championship four. I mean, I know he hasn't been talked about a lot this season, but I definitely feel like he's one of those guys that, kind of like Ryan Blaney last year, you don't expect him to be in championship contention until it's crunch time.
for sure. And another guy who's seemingly under the radar, doing very well and has gone from 22nd on the or 20th on the playoff grid to now 10th. Daniel Dye is in the playoffs currently by 1 point. The turnaround that he has had in the past few weeks, I mean, crazy stuff. He's on a Linsanity run right
You
now,
would think
and
this time last year,
it's insane.
if I told you this, Leon, you'd probably call me crazy and think I'm actually doing shrooms right now.
Yeah,
Like
because we don't expect Daniel to, like, he's a great driver.
compared to last
Yeah,
year, he was nowhere to be seen.
yeah, and
He,
this year he has a top five. He has a pole. He has only one DNF, and he has five top tens. Like, his average finish is up by, like, I don't know, 10 spots right now. It's crazy.
You just have to wonder, though. I mean, yeah, he's been running really good, and he's been putting together a string of good finishes. But I mean, keep in mind, he's only in by 1 point. That is a very hot bubble line between all three series. That is where the battle is the
Closest.
tightest at.
Yeah,
So
but I
you
mean,
have to
to be
think. I
fair,
mean,
he was 80 points out of the playoffs, like, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. And in 4 weeks, he's gotten back up to P10 in the playoffs, and he doesn't
which
seem like he's
is
going to be slowing
yeah.
down.
Well, no, it's absolute insanity. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right.
I
It's
mean, dude,
definitely a
Ben
run that we
Rhodes,
haven't really seen.
yeah, and Ben Rhodes is now slipped to ninth. He's only 18 plus on the cut line. So we might see Ben Rhodes miss
I
So,
mean,
but you
because
got to
Tanner
think
Gray's right
though.
it's
behind
not.
Daniel
It
Dye.
can't be that far out of the question if we see Daniel Dye somehow make it to the Final Four this year, based on consistency.
Oh,
I
I
feel
mean,
like,
he's got some good tracks in the playoffs too. He's
yeah,
in a great spot for
I
sure.
just feel like he needs to win in order to
Yeah.
secure that because of how close like I said, Ben Rhodes, Daniel Dye, those guys need to win, and they need to win soon. And I get that Eckes and Heim make it almost impossible to win, but if he's running as good as he is right now, there's no telling. It's IRP, so I mean it's a track that anybody could win at.
Yeah, especially with how those races get in the get on the end there. It's
Could be a
definitely
caution
an
fest.
yeah, and it probably will be. It probably will be based on the last 2 years. But speaking of probablys, great segue there by me. Great job, Leander.
I don't know how you can make a segue with probably, but it's Leander. You
I
can
mean,
do anything
Cole
apparently.
Custer won the Xfinity race, and he's probably gonna be the
Okay.
new Haas Factory Team Cup ride
It's not.
driver
It's
next
not
year.
probably. It's gonna be definitely. It's like
Yeah,
it's.
yeah.
We can all see it's happening. By the way, Rob is not a time traveler. It's just we're not very attention to how easy it is to predict these things. Rob's just a lot more attentive to these details and just probably paying more attention than I am.
We are legally required to say that he is not a time traveler due to the government.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, Rob.
Due to the government, that's a new one.
Yeah, we have threats. No, but yeah, Custer won the Xfinity race. Finally gets a win after uh Phoenix last year. He's points leader by 50 something points. I mean, he's deserved a win this year, and he's gotten it taken away in every fashion known to man. But he finally gets a win. Second most laps led on the season. Uh, leads the points by 51 points over Allgaier and 59 over Chandler Smith. Could we see Cole Custer get back to that Final Four? I know Ford doesn't have as much as they did last year and as much luck, but could he make it back to the Final Four? And how do you think he'll do in Cup next year?
Not only do I think that he would make it back into the Final Four, but there's no doubt in my mind he'll finish first or second in the championship battle this year. The
I agree.
consistency's been there. The laps led's been there. This win solidifies just how solid he's been all season. And quite frankly, he deserves a second chance in Cup. And
100%.
just because his family is heavily involved in this Cup team now, doesn't mean that he's earned this right again because of nepotism.
I
Let's
think
put that to bed right now.
I
Yeah.
think the issue with Custer being potentially the sole driver in Cup is that we've seen it on throughout other teams and I've heard it on other podcasts. It is incredibly important to have teammates to share data and get better within a team. Does it hurt Cole more being the only driver for Haas next season?
I
No,
mean,
because I have heard rumors about a technical partnership with RFK. Of course, Cole Custer, when Brad has some other duties pop up, he hopped in that 6 car, did a qualifying run. He has a good relationship with them. If they stay Ford, we don't know their manufacturer yet. Stay Ford. He can lean on those guys. He can lean front row if they decide to lean with them and Penske. They have opportunities to have de facto teammates. They could be the furniture row team of Ford, of course, being a single car team. They have flexibility. I think they can work it out and they can get a semi teammate per se.
me personally, I don't think that sticking with Ford is the right move. Yeah, RFK is good. Yeah, front row's decent. But I would much rather go to Chevrolet and have that technical alliance with Richard Childress and Hendrick. Like, the data that those teams have is second to none. If
Well,
I'm
Hendrick,
staying with
yes.
Ford,
RCR, no.
but if I'm
I was gonna say the
Because those are two
RFCR.
separate. Because
Childress
Hendrick,
is
the
different.
only combined thing they have is the engines. Other than that, it's RCR side, which has RCR Trackhouse colleague. They've been suffering, while the Hendrick Brigade has been doing well. Spire improving. So I don't
I
know.
think I
It's
think
gonna be
it's
tough
better
if it's
for them.
RCR.
I think it's better if they have, because there's more quality options with Chevrolet than Ford in my opinion. Because is Penske is willing to work with a single car team, and that's Wood Brothers. I don't think
I think
taking
they have
on.
that
I
slot
don't.
filled.
Yeah, I don't think Penske working with Haas is really an option. I think you have better luck switching over the Chevrolet, especially in the Xfinity series. I mean, we already know that they're going to have two entries for that. More than likely, we've talked about it. Ryan Preece and Harrison Burton, or Ryan Preece and Christian Eckes being in those rides. You know, I'm going with. I would make the switch back to Chevrolet. I think Gene Haas had his biggest successes with Chevrolet, and I think the Ford move has just been lackluster, to put it into a single word. I think the Ford move was not very very fulfilling as it should have been, and I think it's time to go back to basics and go back to a place where you were for so long, and Chevrolet is that place. I mean, not to mention, you look at the pool of drivers that you can get from the Xfinity and Truck and ARCA, and I think there's more talent to develop and to acquire with Chevrolet than Ford right now.
Yeah, in a dream world, I think the best thing for Haas would be if there was a Toyota slot open, but I don't think they have any.
No,
I
and
think,
if Joe Gibbs is charging the prices like they were for Furniture Row, they ain't going to exist in 5 years.
yeah, that's why Legacy went by themselves. But I mean, I would have rather you go with Toyota, start on your own again, and figure that. But I mean, I personally would try to align with Hendrick again. That's how SHR came to be. They partnered with Hendrick and Chevrolet. I would partner with Hendrick. If there's an RCR contract, you can put in trash. I'm going with Hendrick and getting that stuff back, and aligning with JRM and Chevy and Xfinity too. That would leave Sieg as the sole Ford team. Maybe RFK brings back an Xfinity ride for someone. You never know, but I think Chevy long term is the best option. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with Ford, to be honest.
I think it's a toss up. You look at it, and it's 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but speaking of 50-50 options, Goodyear is debuting a tire option for this August
Richmond.
race at Richmond. So, kind of like the intermediates and hards, essentially, or intermediates and softs, if we're talking F1.
Softs and
Um,
hards. Softs and hards.
do we think that this is going to be a successful option for teams, or do we just think this could be a waste of resources?
I'm pretty sure it's just a marketing gimmick. We saw how this worked at North Wilkesboro. That's all I'm gonna say. We saw how it worked at the All Star race. It didn't do much. So yeah, it's gonna be same old Richmond race. Richmond has been good in the next gen, better than what it was in the Gen 6. So yeah, but it'll just be a regular old Richmond.
This might be a hot take, but I wonder if messing with the tire compounds too much is making up for the lack of aerodynamic
Oh,
stability
for
with
sure,
this
for
next
sure,
gen package.
for
It
sure.
feels like NASCAR's putting Goodyear in a spot to where it's like, it's not our package's fault, it's the tire wear, and it's the tire packages, it's the tire compounds, it's the resin. I think NASCAR this
Yeah.
offseason needs to take a good hard look and address these short track packages and the aerodynamics and the way these cars run. Because I'm going to be honest, has the racing been better? Yes, but it's honestly been because of Goodyear and not because of the short track package.
Yeah, yeah, I must say Goodyear low key has been carrying the product as of recent. It's just, I mean, they helped make road course racing better. It's still not Goodyear's fault that the racing has been mid. It's just the car and the racing it produces. I think Goodyear's doing the best they can with what they got. This to me seems less of a Goodyear decision to get an option tire and more of a NASCAR decision to be like, hey, let's bring something new to Richmond. Well, most likely one of their days will get replaced next year by Orin race.
It's
So
like, let's bring the tire wars back, but not bring the tire wars back.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Another short track that's up for discussion this week. Bristol, they had a tire test this week. Chris Buescher, of course, filming in the car. No phone though, so he won't get fined. GoPro action. Always love to see it at the testing. Him and Justin Haley battling. Yeah, it was interesting to see. No shifting, which was interesting, but I'm sure they're not shifting because they want to keep those engines safe. But
Yeah, that's the one thing I was just pointing out to one of my buddies is that he was getting all excited. It's like no shifting, but I'm like, it's a test. I don't think they need to be shifting, you know,
yeah, they don't want to push it too hard. But
especially with
I
those
kind of wish they did.
engines. Yeah,
I kind of wish they did to test it out. We don't know if they did, but looking at the video, they really didn't. But it's gonna be interesting. Of course, I wanted to ask y'all dudes over here: is PJ1 or resin for the fall Bristol race?
can you repeat that again? Your mic cut out a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, my bad. I got resin all over.
Okay,
I
bro.
got PJ1 all over my mic. All right, PJ1 resin. Is it the move for the fall Bristol?
If it's like how it was at all last year, then I say yes because that was a really good race from what I remember. In terms of just the PJ1 just being ran at the beginning by everyone, and then the groove widening out the more it got used, and the resin eventually actually kind of leveled out with the rest of the track, and when it cooled off, it was fast, but then after a restart, it would go back up to the top or middle. So I think if they applied like what they did last fall, then yeah, I think it'd be good for the race, in my opinion.
For sure,
Yeah,
Rob. What do you
I
think?
can agree with that. I think, I personally was a fan of the tires falling off every 30 to 40 laps, to be honest. I think that made the racing much more exciting. And, pack racing at Bristol, I don't think that was on anybody's bingo cards this season, but it definitely made the racing more exciting. It kept the field close, and you didn't really know who was going to win. The tires were affecting both non contenders and title contenders. The PJ1 resin has a lot of potential. It seems to be not only saving the tire, but it's actually letting the rubber stay on the track. That was one of the biggest problems with the tire wear is that you had a lot of marbles on the track. The rubber wasn't sticking. Like you have guys racing on a track that's pretty much like after it's been rained on. There's no rubber, there's no groove, and you can't really get a groove or anything until that rubber is down on the racetrack. You can't really have a preferred line. So I think in terms of being able to have that multi-groove racing at Bristol, the resin's definitely a good idea. We'll just see how much more it saves and conserves the tires, or if the drivers are going to have to conserve tires just like they did this spring.
Yeah, for sure. Also, moving on. Great news about Goodyear's tire and how that's gonna be for Richmond and Bristol. Of course, short tracks, big news. But other big news, unfortunately, fortunately for some, but yeah, seeing another small Xfinity team close their doors, most likely. Um, yeah, Max, what happened? Or Rob, what happened? I think Rob, you brought it up to me earlier today. What happened?
So JD Motorsports, we found out from this past weekend they withdrew from the Pocono race. And then a few days later, it was announced that they had laid off most of their employees. And it also came out this week that they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in April. So it looks like, they are done with most of their racing operations in NASCAR. They transferred their owner points to the Alpha Prime team for their number 45 entry, which bumped them up to 36th in owner points. But my question is to all of you, I mean, what does this mean for those smaller teams that don't get as much funding? You look at like the prize pool between Cup and Xfinity and trucks, like for this weekend, like, Cup's prize pool is almost $10 million. Xfinity's like $1.5 to $2 million, and then trucks is a mere 600,000. Like, does NASCAR need to do something to increase these prize pools? Do sponsors need to add more incentives. And I'm not talking like team sponsors per se, but do like premier sponsors and associate sponsors of NASCAR need to pitch in more money to help these smaller teams stay afloat.
In a perfect world, they should be giving more money to these smaller teams. I will say, however, the fight at the back of those Xfinity races, say 15th on down, is huge. I mean, they have to fight for every points position they can to get more money. That top 20 bonus is absolutely euphoric to a small team. We've seen Clements do it. We've seen our motorsports do it. Jordan Anderson, we've seen them have success. I think JD closing their doors actually helps other small teams gain more confidence and gain more opportunities to earn more. It's kind of an anecdotal change because you would expect, oh, small team closing doors, it's not good for small teams. But in reality, it benefited another small team. Alpha Prime bought the owner points, and now they don't have to qualifying in as much. Like it's big for other small teams, and I think JD, they've been there since what, '03, consistently at every race.
They've been a
And
staple in the Xfinity series for a long time.
yeah, and it's sad to see them go, but I mean, I just
They
think
will
it'll be
always
fine.
they will always be remembered for the Flex Seal days.
The Flex Seal days, yeah, that's for sure. That's
Well, it's just crazy to me. Like, just a few years ago, you mentioned it, like big sponsorship from the Flex Seal family of products. They were running 3, 4 cars a week, and now they
they got
dwindled down
Chastain
to
up
like
there.
they dwindled down to two
And
cars and then one car, and
I,
now this.
I mean, at one point they even had Chastain in the playoffs in one of those cars
Yeah,
too, in 2018, I think.
yeah, with the Ganassi,
No, he was still in the
the
four
Ganassi
car,
Marching. No, no, remember he made a few starts with
The
Ganassi that
42,
year.
it was DC Solar.
I
Yep,
guess,
with
but
H. Scott Ganassi, and he kind of like switched between two rides. He had like 5 in CGR, and then he had the rest in JD.
But yeah, that was, it's just the crazy part of, 3, 4 years, a team could be riding high, and it's not the first time we've seen stuff like this, teams closing their doors like this, being successful or having some success and then closing their doors a few years later. You know, I think the biggest example of that we keep mentioning is Furniture Row, but teams that have had success and then died off, DEI is a big example of that. You had Mark Martin and Dale Jr. and Martin Truex in their lineup, and within a year or so, it got changed to having Regan Smith and Eric Almirola. So I mean, and that's not a
Yeah,
knock to them. It just goes to show,
it's
how
just the
much
team that's
sponsorship.
crumbled.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane how things can change. We thought JD would be here, however many years Carl Long has been in here. Carl Long, just man, props, hats off to you. I hope we have you on the podcast at some point. I mean, it's just a testament to how well they have managed their resources compared to JD, who is just it's just been dwindling. And then that scandal with the meme Twitter posts and firing someone over it, that definitely must have played a factor in the issues there. But yeah, great convo about NASCAR. We will have more infos on our favorites for the NASCAR races at Indy, of course, trucks at IRP, and the big two at the Indy Motor Speedway. I don't know why I said Indy Motor Speedway. It's Indianapolis, the Brickyard. You know the deal. But yeah,
I'm
let's talk about F1.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one who had the name stutter there.
Okay, yeah, it's 11:57. It's 11:57 on a Thursday night.
Yeah, I
I
got work
just
So we're
want
tomorrow.
to
gonna be a little
get
bit delirious.
I want to get this done and over with so I can edit it.
Yeah, good old editor.
Please hurry up. Just start. Just get going, man.
Uh,
Please.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the F1 part of the Apex Bros podcast. First news up, we
I
okay.
I'm just tired.
Max, you're working with
I'm
children. You
I'm
are working with
I'm the
children.
least delirious person here because over there it's 11, here it's 9, and I just want to get this
All right.
Oh
done.
yeah, it's 9 for you. You can't be complaining. Anyways,
I'm not.
uh, K Mag, big news out of Haas. Uh, Kevin Magnussen, not returning for next year. I think that was pretty much confirmed. Like at the Monaco crash, we love you, Kevin Magnussen. Please come on the podcast. But yeah, he will not be returning to Haas. It was kind of expected after this year. I think Haas is going after big money moves, trying to get some for a former race winner
Didn't we predict this one as
into their
well?
group. Yes, we did. We thought Haas would have a brand new lineup for next year. So yeah, we might just be time travelers. No, we aren't, government.
Hooray!
Um, but yeah, in other ooh, Jim Utter. Please come on the podcast. Maybe not.
Stop
Maybe not.
asking people to be on the damn podcast.
Oh yeah, speaking of K-Mag, can you please come on the podcast, please? K-Mag, please. We love you.
Get back, please. We love you. Okay,
So you know,
Sauber.
Sauber.
Yeah,
Sauber,
Sauber could do
Sauber, come on the podcast, please.
Oh god. Okay,
But they could do the
Sauber.
funniest thing ever, you know.
Yeah, they could do the funniest thing ever and sign Hulkenberg and Magnussen, which is basically a team swap with Haas. Um, that'll be very funny. There'll be a lot of sucking balls for those two over there.
Okay.
Um, hey
Only,
Who's
man,
getting
only,
hey,
hot in this
only,
car?
only the real F1 fans remember the beef from 2017, bro.
yeah, suck my balls, mate. Suck my balls.
So with honey in particular, with honey.
I beg your pardon.
Hey yo. Speaking of Ayo, this is a little bit of a surprise. Helmut Marko is on a wild one this week.
Dude,
Red
this
Bull.
is fucked. This segment's fucked. It is fucked.
It's alright. It's a fun. We're fine. Red Bull is working on their 2025 lineup, and both Danny Rick and Checo could be out for Lawson and Isaac Hadger. This would mean I would personally say Sonoda deserves that second Red Bull seat. He definitely thinks he deserves it, as we know in pure Yuki fashion. He says it would be weird if Lawson jumped him. So yeah, he thinks he should get that ride if Checo is vacated from that position, and I think he should take a vacation. Um, yeah, I think Sonoda should get that ride and then put Lawson and Hadger in the second team. And
What is Red Bull doing if Tsunoda does a Pierre Gasly or Albon
he
situation?
can't. He's under contract. He signed with the
Oh,
Red
okay.
Bull. He signed an extension. Yeah, there
Okay.
was a worry he would go to Aston, but Lance Stroll. That's a nepotism case. Not Cole Custer or Ty Gibbs. It's Lance Stroll. But Lance Stroll, please come on the podcast. Yeah, no,
Gosh.
it's gonna be interesting. Danny Rick and Checo don't have much options out of Red Bull unless one of them goes to Williams or Sauber, anything like that. But yeah, you never know. I think going young could really help Red Bull succeed in the long run and help even the sister team thrive before they have that I think anticipated move to Milton Keynes next to the actual Red Bull factory. I know they've been looking for land there. But yeah, Sonoda, of course, saying that he deserves a second Red Bull seat. Looking at his stats, we talked about it um, in the past podcasts that he has been outperforming Danny Rick. Again, we did kind of agree last couple weeks that Danny Rick kind of deserves a shot this year, and then you move Sonoda up next year, give him that fresh start. He won't have that Albon or Gasly moment where he's just thrown in there in the fire and set up to fail pretty much. So yeah, it should be good. I think going with a younger lineup will definitely help them in the future and give them more success. But speaking of youngins, Lando Norris defending his beloved McLaren over their near misses for the past few weeks. He hailed his team for being the best performing in recent months. Not so sure how true that is.
I
Um,
think you have a better case to make Mercedes as the better performing team.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
they're
Mercedes
way
has
better
blown
right
him out the
now.
water. Yeah, and
McLaren
the
had
thing is,
their
McLaren has the faster car,
McLaren
but it's
had their
just
time in the spotlight.
yeah, and they have the faster car. It's just Mercedes can actually win races with strategy and on speed. So yeah,
You
it's
know,
gonna be
McLaren, the front row of F1.
yeah. Lando Norris is doing his best Michael impression.
We're
Um,
just kidding. Lando Norris and Michael Patel, please come on the podcast.
yes, we love Lando Norris and Michael McDowell. Please come on the podcast.
Bro.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the strategy calls have been absurdly horrible as of late. I don't think it was fair to ask Norris what tires he wanted at the end. I think the strategist should know better and make that decision for the team, as well as Piastri. Piastri, of course, has not said anything because no one's asked him, even though he was terribly affected by that call last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I definitely think McLaren needs to work on their strategy skills. They had a great time in Miami, and then ever since then, it's been downhill as of recent. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And to wrap it up, this amazing F1. Um, yeah, silly season. Ocon, Science, K-Mag, Bottas, the big names, including Lawson and Hadger, but I mean they're only in for the Red Bull seat. Bottas is holding talks with Williams and possibly even Haas. Same thing with Ocon. He is also having talks with Williams and Haas. Kind of expected. Both of them are trying to get back in there. K-Mag says his main option would be to stay in F1, but I'm not sure there will be space for him. But yeah, Carlos Sainz has still not made a decision, and it does seem increasingly so that his own would be Alpine or Mercedes, and Alpine being the more probable to happen, the most probable to happen. I think he he may have overstepped his stay at the Williams negotiation table, and Val said, "That's enough. I'm going over here trying to get another driver." So yeah, it's gonna be interesting these next few weeks. Everybody's got to get their lineup set, get their dev drivers going, see how they're gonna do. But yeah, so that's it for the F1 section of the podcast. That was very entertaining, and I promise that we are not drunk or delirious for the most part. Yeah. Now we'll be moving on to our picks for the weekend coming up, and yeah. Wow.
That was
uh,
disgusting. I can't believe I got
That should
that.
be the intro.
that should be the fucking Metro Golden Mayer line. It's
No,
thing.
that'll just be the transition for every segment. Ugh.
All right, we are back with our closing statements and predictions for the races coming up this weekend. But before we dive into that, again, huge thank you and shout out to Victory Fuel, who is always there to quench our thirst. They come in first, and you can get 10% off of your next order using the code APEX10 at checkout. That's APEX10 at checkout to save yourself 10% on your next order. But it is time now to dive into our weekly predictions. So let's go ahead and dive right into that, shall we?
We shall.
Let's go ahead and start with IndyCar at Toronto.
Toronto in the
Good
six.
old Canada.
So
Maple, my
we'll
maple.
mention Nate's pick since he can't be here tonight. And Cody didn't have any picks this week
Thank
because,
gosh. Oh my dude.
Yeah, I don't want my drivers getting jinxed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nate's a Southern boy too, so you may not have much better luck.
Yeah, true, very true, very true.
The bad luck
Okay.
might fall on Nathan now.
So our good buddy Nathaniel has Will Power winning at Toronto, which is a very good
Interesting
pick.
pick. Interesting
Very
pick.
bold. Very bold.
Will Power's actually been one of the best active drivers in Toronto the past several years. So
Well,
definitely got to keep that in mind.
you gotta keep in mind this is like the second race with this configuration of the track.
But
I'm
they've been
pretty
going
sure.
there since 1986.
I mean,
So-
yeah, but it's just a different
It
configuration.
don't matter. It don't matter.
It doesn't
Stats
matter what.
carry
No.
over.
No, we're not bringing the WWE in here. That's for its own podcast. Which, by the way, fans and listeners,
Oh,
if you
you
want to check it out,
teaser.
they're making a WWE podcast. Check it out sometime soon. I don't know when it's releasing, but it's releasing soon.
W plug. W plug.
What was it?
Just like Joe
Liam-
Henry, we believe in this podcast. But anyway,
Rob has Scott McLaughlin for IndyCar.
got
Scotty
Scooty
Mac.
M, baby.
It's hard to get a bet against him with the momentum he's been on.
Well, I mean, we did, you and me, Max. We went with good old Florida boy, Florida man, Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle Kirkwood. I mean, he ran really good there last year. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he would have won if strategy played out. So, I mean, I think, he's very good on street courses. We'll see what he can do. But yeah, the breakdown is Rob picked Scotty Mac. Natan picked Will Power.
yeah, we
and
already
then,
covered that.
Yep, me and Max are the same person again and picked Kyle Kirkwood.
Okay.
And and shocker for F1, me and Max have picked Max Verstappen.
This is
We're not beating the allegations.
We're not. But to be
No.
fair,
You all are like.
if I'm being honest, I was picking my IndyCar and F1 picks before Leander was. It just
No,
took-
I had mine 30 minutes before you.
No.
Well, see, they're only picking Verstappen because Cody didn't pick this week.
Yes,
to be
that
honest.
is- that is
yeah,
also
I'm gonna
true.
be
That's also true.
honest. Yeah,
That's also true.
That's literally why.
So Cody in turn did not help them beat the allegations that they are the same person, which we might answer on a future podcast coming up. Stay tuned.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
yeah. That's gonna happen.
But anyways,
But,
for F1, Rob picked Lewis Hamilton. He would be going for 2 wins in a row. Hasn't happened, since, I believe, 2021. So
Nate,
yeah, that'll be interesting. Nate picked Lando Norris. Hopefully,
I am hoping they
their
get back
strategy
on it.
straight.
I'm hoping
Can
they
he
get back
beat?
on it.
Can he beat the comments that he made? Can he beat the allegations?
Oh,
That
Can he beat the
McLaren is
allegations?
indeed
We
better
will
than
see.
Mercedes.
McLaren allegations.
Yeah, the McLaren allegation. Yeah. For Cup.
NASCAR.
No, not for Cup. We're going trucks first.
Trucks, oh,
we'll do it
no.
live. Yeah, trucks. Rob picked William Sawalich. Nate picked Ben Rhodes. Both great picks.
I don't know about Ben Rhodes.
It turns into a shit show at the end of the race. Ben Rhodes will definitely make it through.
Yeah.
I picked Ty Majeski for the truck race, former winner there last year, and Max is going with the boy Corey Heim.
He
Please
can't-
come on
Max
the
is still
podcast.
living off of high time.
Yeah, Heim time, bro.
It's Heim time.
time.
Can't go wrong
It
with
is a real thing.
And by the way, I did buy the merch. You guys go check out Corey Heim's merch. That's pretty cool.
Hey, whoa! They gotta pay us for that, bro.
Oh, my bad. I'll bleep all that out.
It's fine. Yeah, bleep it out. Tricon, please come on the podcast.
Corey
For
Heim, come on the
Xfinity.
podcast. Corey Heim.
For Xfinity, our boy Rob has picked Justin Allgaier as well as Nathan. So we have 2 votes for Justin Allgaier.
If
Max picked Cole Custer,
if you take
and I
into
picked
account-
Eric Almirola.
If you take into account, Allgaier was the last winner in Xfinity at the oval track. And if they run the exact same package they ran back there, he can probably win. Just saying.
It's hard to
I
bet
can
against
see that happening. I
JRM
think it's a
car.
very good pick. I think it was a very good pick. Yeah. Well, no, the last winner was Kyle Busch. Allgaier did win
Oh,
2018.
that's right. Well, no, I swear I remember all I
Well,
was
hey,
I was
man,
re-
Kyle Busch ain't
I,
winning anything
I
this
know, but
year.
I
We're
was
talking about the past.
I was rewatching 2020 Brickyard 400, and I remember Allgaier was filling in for Jimmy because he had COVID at that time, and they showed a highlight of I'm pretty sure the
Yeah, he won in 2018. He
what
yeah, he won in 2018.
I
Kyle
s-
Busch won in 2019.
okay, so I know he won in the
Actually, I
Brewers
won with him
car.
in NASCAR Heat 5.
Okay,
No,
okay. I know I knew Allgaier won in the Brewers car. I just forget what year it was.
I think it was 2018 with the Briars car, the ice
I'm
cream on the
looking this
hood.
up, but
But
go on with the cup
but
predictions.
Okay. Yeah, Xfinity. I have Almer. Max has Cole Custer. The other two have Allgaier. That's the breakdown for Xfinity. Good picks all around, and Cup. Good old Cup. Whoever gets out in clean air will win most likely. But yeah, Rob has picked William Byron. Every 10 years, it seems, the 24 wins at Brickyard. So, yeah, first year was Gordon, 10th year was Gordon, third decade it was Gordon. And then Byron's driving it now, so maybe he can go the 24 for 4
Okay, so yeah,
for a
that
year.
Allgaier win was 2018.
Yeah, or was it every 5 years? Oh, same thing. But yeah, it's that's race is going to be interesting. Definitely money will be on Byron a lot this week. I picked for Cup Tyler Reddick. I think he's been on a roll as of recent, fighting for that regular season championship. So, yeah, he'll be interesting to watch. Maximus has picked Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
Uh,
You got to
he's
think
he's got to hope it doesn't happen to him like 2019,
2020.
and he will be fine. 2020. Oh, okay,
2020
yeah.
is when he blew the right front to turn one. I unfortunately had to relive watching that earlier
Damn,
this
I would
week.
never put myself through that emotional trauma.
I mean,
He's a
yeah.
Hamlin fan. He has to do it every season.
Yeah,
Oh,
I do, yeah. It's
Damn.
true.
3 Daytona 500s. It's all right.
I just if he can I know he wants this Brickyard 400 so bad more than any other race because this is like his last one of his last chances at checking off this race on his crown jewel list.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so we
Nate's
got
pick.
Nate. Yep, Nate picked Kyle Larson, which is a great pick. He's running the Coke 600 scheme, so we don't know if that one has bad luck or not. So we'll
But
find out.
is it a great scheme? Or not is it a great scheme? What the fuck? Hi, my name's
A
Rob, I
great
got
pick.
autism. Yeah,
I'm
is it a great pick?
I'm not laughing
I
at
mean,
Rob
to
because
be
I know it happens to the best of us.
It's yeah, no, it's
but
definitely an interesting pick. I mean, it could go either way. It's either Larson has a great day or Larson has a terrible day. And terrible is
yeah.
like P14, so
Well, I mean, it's crazy to me how like he's still only 3 points behind Elliott, despite his recent string of bad luck.
and missing a race,
Yeah,
which is crazy. But yeah, those are our picks for the weekend. Bet on them, maybe.
I don't know about betting
We
on them. We're not
we
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 are
we
not
do not we don't want to take that responsibility. So
we're not Dirty Modell.
so
yeah, we're
we
not Steve Letarte. So
Least
Steve Letarte, come on the podcast, please.
least qualified people.
Dale,
Uh,
Dale Tanhart, greatest better in the universe. Please come
Del
oh,
on the
that is
Del
podcast.
true. That is
Tenor,
true.
please come
Please
on the
come on the
podcast.
Okay,
podcast.
but before we go, we are still going to be recording during the Olympic break that NASCAR has. So even though there may not be action on the track, there will be off the track with us at least. So we're going to be hosting a Q&A for one of these future episodes. We're going to have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our email, of course. You can find us on our socials at the Apex Bros Pod or the Facebook page as the Apex Bros Podcast. Or you could send in your question via email at
Apex
the
Bros
Apex
Pod.
Bros at gmail.com.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I think that wraps us up this week. And through the fire and flames, we carry on the next week. So, for Leander, myself, Max, Nate, and Cody, take care. Have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.
Next time we won't be as delusional.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Right.
Hooray!